because I know that I have a visceral reaction when I see videos that seem to run counter to my views.
Yeah.
And I believe that everybody or most people have that feeling, and you try and fight against it and go, no, I'm going to watch this thing that Gary Lineker's just put out about Israel or whatever, because my immediate reaction is my head wants to dismiss it before I've even watched it, because I think this guy's an ideologue, he's on the other tribe.
Yeah.
So all the things that, and I agree with everything you've said, but they must also be going, gosh, these people on the right, when they sit down and actually, because most of them just go, they're all psychopathic Nazis, they think we are. But if they really think about it, they go, why is it that they're not seeing the truth that we're seeing? So there must be another side to this story that you and I are just shielded from.
I'm afraid there's not. And I have a lot of experience talking to the left on this, debating them, but also I always make every effort to understand the other side. And often I naturally take the devil's advocate position. So if someone's arguing my point, I quite often end up taking the other side. I don't know why, it's just a sort of quirk that I have. And actually, I did a paper, a chapter in one of our books on reforming the education system as one way to try to get rid of woke and one way to actually increase respect for free speech. And one of the things I advocated for students to do in primary and secondary school is to have, every couple of years, force all students to debate an issue from the opposite side they would normally do. So that
we had to do this in 12th grade.
To consider the validity of other points and express them. Now, one of the things I always do in podcasts and interviews and debates and so forth is I try to avoid doing what many people on the left and the right do, and that's talk theoretically and try to essentially talk about emotions and feelings. And this is why I always try to stick to the facts, because I still think the facts are undeniable. I present the facts.
This guy sounds like an alt-right Nazi to me. I can already see it. Yep.
You draw your conclusion. I think it's quite hard to draw any other conclusion than the one that I think most of our viewers understand. And as I said,
just how it is.
As with my cousin, when she saw the facts, she couldn't deny them, because this wasn't my view, my opinion. This was the clear facts. And as I said, you challenge somebody, for example, to explain how diversity has actually benefited. And I had one person talk about the restaurants, but I was like, well, yes, they all added, we've got the recipes now. We don't need them any longer.
I know where you got that from. Mr. Bean.
Yeah, so that was not the 9 o'clock news, I think, yes.
Now that we have the recipes.
And then the other one, of course, is the slavery and reparations. And I say, well, you want reparations for slavery? You living in America, living in Britain, living in the Caribbean. In what way has your life been hurt by slavery? How have you actually been disadvantaged by that? You're living in a country which has a life expectancy far longer than in West Africa. Your income is 10 times higher than in West Africa. Explain to me. And they never can.
And you'd have to take money from the black families who kept slaves as well.
Well, exactly. And you'd also have...
That's different. That would never happen.
If there were Jamaicans living here, they'd be paying reparations through taxes to people in Trinidad. Makes no sense at all. And of course, there were only...
People want reparations because they want money. This is not really... There's no logic in this at all, right? Like, I mean, I can see reparations for something like, Japanese internment camps, because it was people that were directly affected by, like, let's say, a certain thing. But, like, in terms of overall, absolutely not.
A few thousand slave owners, the majority of Brits descend from people who lived lives of abject poverty akin to serfdom in the first place, so why should they pay? But you are a victim of slavery. In what way? And suddenly all of their arguments go, because it's all based upon emotion and fluff. I deal in facts, and I think that's the only way you can hopefully bring over people on the left who aren't so radicalized. Right? That's all. I want to try to bring people who are still sitting on the fence or on the left but are reasonable and logical. You're never going to convert the complete
idiots.
Well, even when you did so with your cousin, who I imagine was not the fact that she watched it at all, she must be quite open-minded. The fact is, you're a family member, a loved one. It's much
being open-minded at all, like that automatically rules out like 30% of people on each side. Probably 20% of people, maybe 10% of people on each side.Maybe it's not as high as 30, but it rules out a lot of people on each side. It does.
Easier to do it that way. It's like they need a friend. It's a fashion thing, and a friend of theirs has to say, like, yeah, I might vote for reform, and they might then be a bit shocked. And then
that's actually, he brings up a really good point about this, and I think that he's completely right about it, which is a lot of people's politics, especially young people's politics, are used as social currency and social accessories. So, and they're also a form of social posturing. So they act this way in order to seem like they're part of the in group. There aren't a lot of these positions that are actually informed by any sort of like like moral authority. They're just simply going with what people already believe. There's a huge expectation and a huge pressure for a lot of people to maintain the status quo opinion, and I think that you can see that.
A few months later,
and be respectful. You know, what happened to decent? It's like old debates where you would shake hands after having a debate.
Yeah.
And that now, even that is becoming. I've been at a couple of university debates where people have refused to shake my hand afterwards, and you just think, gosh, you know, have we gone to the stage now where just sharing opinions now and viewpoints is a cause for cancellation?
Well, they think if they genuinely think you're a Nazi,
yeah.
Well, then you don't. I you know, I'm not. They're not right. But that's what they think, isn't it?
There's visceral anger on the left. I mean, you see...
Well, the problem with that is, and I think the reason why that's happened is because we've allowed people to exist in a world that is their truth. And I think this has happened with, like, allowing people to believe that they're two-spirited. It's happened with people believing that, you know, they have, like, these imagined pronouns, etc. And it's happened also with people that are making up definitions for Nazi or racism. To the extent that you let people live in their own world and you don't hold them accountable to what the truth and the facts are, is the point where you diverge even farther from reality. So you have people that are living in these abstractions of reality that are just totally different from what a normal person experiences. It's why mental illness is through the roof. Yes, exactly. No, it absolutely is. And so it's a consequence of free speech. Well, no, it's not, because the issue is not that you can't speak out against it. It's that people do. And I'm not saying it should be illegal to be stupid. I'm just saying that people should be able to acknowledge when somebody's being stupid. But I think that really the issue, especially with like a lot of identity politics, is that a lot of people are unwilling to, for whatever reason, acknowledge and define bad behavior. And also delusional behavior. It's basically like anything that you believe you are is true. Well, that's a really, really dangerous precedent to set. That's a crazy dangerous precedent to set. You're free to believe whatever you want as long as it doesn't impose on others. But the problem is that people may be free to believe that, but the difference is that other people don't feel free to oppose that. And I think that's really the issue. So when people can just make up whatever reality they want, and it's not seen as politically correct to correct them, especially whenever we're referring to things that are just totally illogical, like thinking that you have two spirits inside of you. This is a mental illness, and it shouldn't be treated as anything else other than that. Nobody should be playing games with this. Nobody should be trying to accommodate this. Nobody should be taking this seriously. It should just be immediately discarded and viewed as retarded, because that's what it is. But the problem is that people try to, and this is the way that people's empathy ends up hurting them, is that they end up allowing this to happen, and it just makes it worse and worse over time. And now, and this is the thing, right, is like, like at the beginning, right, it was like, okay, somebody wants to, like, okay, somebody's trans, okay, that's fine, you be trans, okay. Well, then now you have people inventing new genders. Now you have people thinking that they're animals, right? At what point do you draw the line between reality and fantasy? And the issue is that there is no logical position on where to draw that line. And that's it. No seasons? Yes, clearly. Two spirits is literally a personality disorder. Well, that's clearly what's happening here.
If you've never held someone say Labour scum, right, or killer Labour MP, as we just had from this kneecap organisation, I'm told on these dating apps now it says no Tories, right? I don't think anyone's probably said no Labour or no Lib Dems.
I suppose it's the
yeah, they do. Whenever they mention like no fat chicks,
because traditionally the right, the left think of the right that the right are evil, and the right think the left are stupid. So we want to talk and go, come on, guys, let me explain this to you. And they want to go, no, you're evil.
Well, as the old adage says, if you're not a liberal at 25, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative at 35, you have no brain.
Yeah,
this is the thing. Bloody hell. Well, and what is Keir Starmer? I mean this almost in an existential sense. What the hell is it sort of a robot, a kind of a how do you say that word? Apparatchik? Apparatchik. He just seems just blank slate kind of thing.
Well, he's clearly not a person with any political acumen or instinct. I mean, it's been nothing but calamity after calamity.
91%.
Yeah, guy seems like a joke.
Watching Heritage clips are not subscribed.
Okay.
Quick favor, hit subscribe.
Okay.
Free,
Fine.
takes 2 seconds, and helps us question everything together.
I like that video. I do. And I think they bring up a lot of good points. And I think the problem is, again, it's letting people live in their own realities. I think that was probably the most damaging and most detrimental thing to do. Is constantly letting people live in their own realities. Oh, let me link you guys the video. And yeah, I'll take a look at this accent. So we go. Yeah, I'll link the video. I forgot. And Starmer's a chameleon. He pivots towards whatever political stance is better. Yeah, exactly, right. And make reality great again. Yes, imagine that. So there you go. There's the video. Give it a like. I definitely agree with this. It's a parenting issue, and these motherfuckers are adults now. Nah, bro. Like, you can't tell me it's a parenting issue whenever you've got people that are 60 years old that are crashing out. Like, you've got to be a little bit more reasonable with that, okay? And I hate that liberal has been claimed by fucking nutcases out there. Well, yeah, definitely. And so watch the H3 Nuke video. I will. We'll watch it in a few days. Don't worry about it. In probably a day or two, and we'll get around it. What do you mean let, though? You're talking about policing since our realities are contained in our mind? Well, so whenever I say let, I mean the polite allowance for people to behave in a certain way and the aversion to confronting people's delusions. And I think, like, for example, it's not considered socially acceptable for a person to bring up, like, no, you're not actually like this, you're just crazy. And I think that's been the problem. It's because you can't bring this stuff up, and you're not supposed to bring it up. And because of that, it's caused everybody to, effectively, it's caused a chilling effect on reality. And it's allowed unreasonable, weird people to just get more unreasonable and more crazy.